Hello again, and it's time for another project. Today we're going to cut out this character from the scary movies, and the idea is we're going to cut out a back section which will be identical to the black piece, and then we'll cut out the white sections one by one and basically paint them white and glue them back onto the backer section which will be painted black. So it will be identical to what we see here now, apart from we'll put some silver in the knife and maybe some black, some dark teak around the handle bit. Now originally I was going to route this out on pine, remove all the black section, paint it white and then put black resin in there, but it's just quite a lot of resin on that one, so we're going to go for plywood today. It's just 5.5 millimeter for the backer and the top sections. As this is like a theme, seasonal theme for Halloween, it's something you would probably get out, put up for Halloween and then put it away again, so we don't want to waste too much wood and the thicker stuff on something like this. So just a nice little fun project today. Now normally with these projects, I just remembered here now, you would line your piece of wood with your painter's tape or clear tape. Some people have different methods. Spray on some glue there underneath that, obviously. Spray your glue on, stick that down and just basically start cutting that out. Because I've used this piece of wood which was scrap wood as they call it, I've used carbon paper. Now carbon paper or graphite paper, you simply pop that underneath. I like to use a biro pen and just draw around it. Yes, it might take you 5 or 10 minutes more, but it's a wet rainy day today, so we'll go indoors where it's nice and warm. Prepare all your template and then we'll come back out afterwards. So we've gone all the way around that, and what I've managed to do is move this about a bit, and basically as you see from that, we've filled our piece of 5x5 plywood in. We'll know where all these go, because as we cut each section out, we can simply place it onto the original template and we know we've got the right section, and we can use that as our pattern now. Plus you can use that over and over again, so you're not wasting papers and you're not wasting your inks. So there's our backer piece. You can see there it comes in at 18 inches by 14 inches across, I think I wrote on there, and these all our bits will be painted white, that will be painted black. Now for cutting out on this 5.5 millimeter plywood, for me personally, I like to use what they call spiral blades. Now spiral blades, the teeth spiral the full length of the blade, so they will cut in any direction. With all your blades, they want to feel smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. That way you know you've got your blade in the right way. If your blade is in the wrong way, you'll soon know, because it will be pulling the wood up all the time and all the dust will be coming to the top. So plain or spiraled, smooth on the way down, rough on the way up. Now you can use the other two blades. They're a pinless blade. These are what your professional guys use. I do apologise for that thumb. I've just noticed some black paint on there from a previous project I've been doing this morning. And also there's a pin blade. These come on your more basic saws, where there's a little clamp at top, a little hook like that, with the teeth facing towards you. On your more fancier saws, it's a clamp that you nip together. Now unfortunately my scroll saw only takes pin blades, so I have to use these adapter clamps, and there's a little Allen key in there as you can see, and they fit onto your blade, be them spiral or plain blade as we call them, flat blades. So you pop your blade in there, tighten up your little Allen key, and then you would hook that on top and bottom. So if you're going to purchase a scroll saw, get one that takes pinless blades if possible. That will just save you a lot of trouble. Now on this piece there is only 1, 2, 3, 4 inner cuts, so we have to drill what they call a pilot hole, and there's our 4 there. Look, I've marked with a little cross, so we want to cut out the middle of that. So to get your blade in there, we've got to drill that hole, feed the blade through, cut that out, 1, 2, 3, and there's one on the inner section of the blade itself there. So just those 4 inner cuts to do, and this is a big piece, so what we will do, we'll cut it in half there, across there should I say, and we'll cut it across there just to make it a bit easier for us. And as we cut out each section, we'll sand it down and place it on top of our template. Once it's all nicely cut out, the black paint, the white paint, silver and teak will come out. We'll paint it all and then basically just glue every piece back onto the original backer. Okay, let's pop our pegas number 3 into this scroll saw and we can start cutting this one out. Okay, so we've got the pegas number 3 spiral blade set up on the saw. Notice the adapter clamp there, that's on the top and bottom. So if you're going to get a saw, remember, try and get one that takes pinless. These are okay and they certainly do the job. If you're cutting out 200 to 300 holes, you're going to take that clamp off there 200 to 300 times. And the novelty can wear off just a little bit. You notice I've drilled the 4 pilot holes. There's one right over in the corner over here somewhere. So they're all done now. So we're going to start off by cutting these inner sections out. And then we remove the full piece itself. And you notice we've cut that big piece of wood down into 3 sections just to make it a bit easier to move the wood about. However, with these spiral blades, there is no need to twist that wood. We could just feed that round like so. Whereas with your 2 other blades, your pinned and pinless, you would have to come down here, then you would turn your piece, go down, and then turn your piece. A lot of twisting and turning. Some fantastic folk out there. For me personally, on this occasion, we're going to use the spiral blades. Just one of my favourite blades. Folk either love or hate them. Right, we're all set up. We've got that little tension, ping ping sound. We're good to go. Let's start cutting this one out. And remember, as we cut each piece out, we'll pop it onto that template, original template, and we'll know how far we've got to go. I believe there's 21 pieces on this one, so nothing too fantastic. Okay, you can see from that, as we've cut each piece out, we can still use that template, just give us a rough idea where they go. And remember with these patterns, especially on something like this, you've not got to be too particular. If you're not running on the line, don't worry about it. Some of these pieces that I've gone round, as I thought they were a bit fragile. Maybe this here was maybe a bit too thin for me. Come off the line, make it slightly thicker. It doesn't matter, it doesn't have to be spot on. On this original pattern, those 4 pieces, they weren't even on it. That was just plain black. So I've modified that myself just to fill in extra with those pieces. So remember, your patterns, templates, stencils, whatever you want to call them, on something like this anyway, it's just a rough guideline. You can modify things and alter things to suit your taste. So the last piece, which I've left off here deliberately, just to show you, The only downside with those spiral blades is those little fuzzy bits. If I can get right in, just see it. And it is minimal, and some woods are worse than others. And you notice here, I like to use a pencil and just mark the back of the piece, just so I know which way it goes. It makes life a lot easier. But for sanding down, it takes a couple of minutes on each piece. Certainly worth it. And on the edges here, you can see they're quite sharp. On one we've already done, we like to just round those edges off. Downside again with your plywoods, they are made of different layers. 1, 2, just 3 on this one here. Apologise for the focusing. So as you sand one off, takes too much away, and you'll get a slightly different colour underneath, as you can see there. That's not going to affect us. We are going to paint this. But if you're going to oil that, or just straight varnish spray, remember, you will get that different coloration. And some of your plywoods are worse than others. Been lucky on this one, we've had no problem. But sometimes you will get voids in there, and you'll notice you're cutting, it'll speed up all of a sudden. That's because it's basically hollow underneath. You just fill that in with a bit of filler, paint over the top. Nobody's any the wiser. So I will sand off this last piece, just to round it off, remove those pencil lines, and that will hopefully will fit in there if we turn it around the right way. Once we've had a bit more work on it. So there's all our bits all nicely cut out and done. And the way I do my sanding, just a rough bit of scrap wood, place that on my workbench when I'm sat down, pop that on there, and we just go around, do our sanding. You can come off the edge and do whichever suits you. Personally, I wouldn't use sanding drums on a Dremel. They'll be too aggressive, and you'll go in and it'll catch, and you'll be all over the place. So as you can see from me, just good old bits of sandpaper. Take your time, enjoy the projects, but no racing, no rushing about. Right, obviously that's all the top section done. We have the bottom section to do next. Remember our backer board there. So we'll cut this out next. I'll do the same sanding down on the edges and take all those little fuzzes off the back, and then we'll be ready for painting. Okay, as you can see from that, we've cut out the backer, no problem with that. And we've also gone round with that sandpaper again, and we've removed all those little fuzzies, matter of minutes on the backer there. And like I say, we've just rounded off those edges there. So that's our backer done. What I will do now is let's just put all these bits on top of the backer, just to show you what the general idea is that we're looking for. Okay, there's all our top bits just roughly put in place. Remember, we've still got our template to give us a rough idea where things go, so we can copy off that to get it somewhere near. But remember, it doesn't have to be perfect. If we don't want that one there, we can move it up there, and just as good. Painting wise, painter's touch paints for me. This is an indoor project, but these paints are nice and they go on pretty easy. Unfortunately, with your paint, white has got to be the worst colour to do. So I know for a fact I will have to go over it a couple of times. And I don't use any primer or anything. If you want a proper professional job, I suppose you can go out to get primer. You can spray all these with primer first, and you can spray paint this just as easy. I do prefer to use a brush and paint it on that way instead of actually spraying it on. So no primer, just one coat of the painter's touch, and then we'll come over with a second coat, and I will find that's plenty for me. So white for all those top sections. Apart from the blade there on the dagger, we've got a nice little painter's touch silver there. And I've looked at this image there. On the original photos, that is actually black on most of the daggers, but we have a black background, so I think we're going to lose that. So I've just come in with maybe a dark teak, or it might end up being silver, same as the blade section. Okay, we'll go indoors, start painting this one up, and then when we come back, we're looking to spray in a bit of varnish and then gluing it all together. Okay, so we've painted the backer. I've actually did both sides on that for some reason. Doesn't really matter, does it? So that's all nicely painted. And also the other bits. Now when I'm doing painting a lot of pieces like this, I just basically just get a bit of tape, strip it the full length, put a piece on either end just to hold it in place, and stick your bits to it. That way you can just hold your piece of board and just paint these as you wanted. I prefer to use the brush paint. To be honest, you can spray these just as easy if that's your choice to do them. And with a little bit of persuasion, they're all firmly stuck. They do come off nicely enough, like so. And you may need to just give those edges a little scrape down. I just use my nail basically. And there's our little piece ready to go on. And we go on and same again with the next one, until eventually we get all our pieces. And then we're basically just going to glue them all down in place. Just before that, and you know it's coming, I do like to spray a bit of varnish on. No other reason than, for me, it just finishes the project and it will just give it a bit more of a shine. Now you don't need it, that is a gloss spray, look, there's plenty on there, and you're quite happy to just leave it and put it on as it is. But for me, just a quick 151 spray. Quick spray. We'll do a bit on the silver. Be careful with your whites. They do say too much spray on these and in time they could yellow. I've never had any issues, so I might just leave the white as it is. So on this one, we are basically just going to spray the backer piece, just to make it a little bit more shinier than what it is. And the glue still has no issue sticking to that. So I'll go outside, finish that off, and then when we come back, we'll be ready to glue it all together. Okay, there's all our bits all sprayed up with that bit of 151 varnish. It didn't need it, but for me personally, it just gives it that bit of shine. And I do like a bit of shine on my projects, as we know. And in the end, I basically just sprayed a fine piece on everything else, just to say we've done it. And even the white got a bit of a coat in there. Not too much, just enough to say it's got a bit of a shine on it. Right, remember we've still got our template bit. So basically all we got to do now is start sticking this down onto the top section like so. And for that, for me, 151, just a super glue there. Nothing too fantastic. It will probably use that by itself. But on my previous projects, I just like to incorporate a bit of wood glue at the same time. And all I basically do is get your piece on the back there, look. And I will just dab a few little bits around with that one. And then we'll come in between with this one. And I do find that's just enough with that wood glue. So when you could put it in position, it just gives you that extra couple of seconds to put it in place and then press it down before it sets. Okay, I'll go off and glue all this together and then we'll leave the last piece. And then when we come back, this little project will be finished. Okay, so we've just the last piece to go. So as I've been going around, like I said before, we just dab a little bit of that on. Not too crazy. I just find that helps put the piece in position. A little bit too much, just wipe it off. And then we come in with the good stuff. If you just dab that on the same way, like so. And that's it. The white glue does actually dry clear, so we've got no problem with that. And I haven't managed to stick my fingers down today. So the last one just goes in there, like so. Press that down. And that should be it. Right, we'll go back down to the shed. This little project is finished. Right, just before we do the finished talk off, just remembered these two little pieces here. I'd actually cut those out on the original pattern, and I think there was one up here and there was one down here somewhere, and it just got too much, so I left those off deliberately. Sometimes you can overcrowd things, and this piece here, that was actually the other way around. So any eagle-eyed people among you there thinking it's missed something off, we actually missed them off on purpose. So to make the pattern, sometimes it can alter along the way. Okay, that's it. This little project is finished. So it's Ghostface, I believe they call him, from the scary movies. We cut him out on 5.5mm plywood for the top sections and also for the backer board, using a Pegas number 3 spiral blade. Remember, any blade would have cut this project out. I just prefer to use the gold spirals. And there's my adapter clamps at the top and the bottom. So I keep repeating myself, but if you are going to purchase a scroll saw, try and pay that extra money and get one that takes pinless blades. It will just save you a lot of trouble. Once we cut it all out, obviously, we came in with good old painter's touch paints. And for the end of the handle there, that's literally black in the movies, I believe, but we would have lost that with the backer, so I just came with a bit of dark teak, and we had silver painter's touch for that. And then we sprayed it all with a 151 varnish, just give me that nice little shine. It didn't need it, they're all gloss paints, but for me personally, I think it just finishes a project off nicely. And then we glued it all down. I came in again with just some super glue there, and for me, I do like to incorporate a bit of this wood glue. It probably doesn't need it, but it just helps out for me, just to move it in position before it actually sticks down. With your super glues, you get the one chance. Once it's down, it is stuck down. And the full piece itself comes in at 18 inches by 14 inches across. And that's it. Ghostface is finished. We've got a nice shine to him. Nice little Halloween decoration, I suppose. Thank you very much for watching.